In the Cinetrax Film Journal, Kristen Thompson explains the concept of cinematic excess. In her chapter, she explains that films can be seen as a struggle of opposing forces. Some of these forces strive to unify the work, to hold it together sufficiently that we may perceive and follow its structures. Outside of any such structures lie those aspects of the work which are not contained by its unifying forces, the excess. Aspects of a film which lie outside of the central plot and narrative and which do not follow the classic structures of a film can be classified as excess according to Thompson. Although by this definition most excessive films are recognized as camp or cult, such as the Rocky Horror Picture Show and Pink Flamingos, excess can be found in almost any film, including mainstream movies and Hollywood blockbusters. Since mainstream films and blockbusters follow a classic story structure which audiences can get used to, it has become harder for a regular cinema-goer to recognize the excess aspects within these types of films, a point which Thompson highlights. Certainly a steady and exclusive diet of classical narrative cinema seems to accustom people to ignoring the material aspects of the artwork, since these are usually so thoroughly motivated as to be unobtrusive. But the minute a viewer begins to notice style for its own sake, or watch works which do not provide such thorough motivation, excess comes forward and must affect narrative meaning. This means that access is only acknowledged when audiences are familiar with this concept and know when and how to look out for it. Excess can be shown in many of a film's material aspects. These include mise-en-scène, performance, color, lighting, costume and makeup, and set design, which are all aspects I will be talking about in this video essay. The film I have chosen as my case study is the iconic MGM-produced 1939 family musical The Wizard of Oz, directed by Victor Fleming and starring Judy Garland. Adapted from the novel The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, written in 1900, The Wizard of Oz has become extremely iconic and influential in the modern era, despite not being a smash hit upon its release. This was due to its competitor being Gone with the Wind, which swept the Oscars the following year, largely surpassing The Wizard of Oz, which only won 2 Oscars for Best Original Score and Best Original Song with Over the Rainbow, and also because of the beginning of World War II and the historical and political context of its time of release.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high.
The Wizard of Oz follows Dorothy, a young Kansas farm girl who, along with her dog Toto, is swept away to the fantastical land of Oz in a cyclone. Upon arriving, she finds out that she cannot return home without defeating the Wicked Witch of the West, nor without the help of the titular Wizard of Oz, and so embarks on a journey, picking up an array of friends, most of them non-human, on the way. Being so well regarded and well beloved in today's day and age, there have been many books, texts, and essays written about this film, with multiple different readings regarding subtexts of race, gender, homosexuality, and more. There is little to be said, however, about the elements of excess within the film, which is what I will be studying in this video essay. As with most book-to-film adaptations, many changes were made to Baum's original story when writing the script for The Wizard of Oz. The most notable change, and the change which I believe is the pinnacle example of excess in this film, is the decision to alter the color of Dorothy's famous slippers, which were placed on her feet by magic after accidentally killing the Wicked Witch of the East with her house. Baum's novel describes the slippers as silver. However, MGM made the decision to change them to ruby red. The bright, beautiful shine of these new slippers against the backdrop of the bright, beautiful yellow brick road became the symbol of the film, with The Wizard of Oz being universally known for the ruby slippers for generations. After becoming so iconic, later audiences who read the book after watching the film were surprised to find that red was not the original color, and in 1970 a pair of red slippers used during production were found and auctioned to an anonymous buyer for $15,000. This modification was made due to the studio's desire to take advantage of the new Technicolor, since The Wizard of Oz was among one of the first live-action films to be made with color, as well as attempting to match Technicolor's success with Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, released 2 years prior, which was a box office hit. Despite this, the decision to change the color of the slippers did not have any effect on the story adapted for the film, and was done exclusively for audiences' visual enjoyment, which is supported by David Bordwell in his book, Film Art and Introduction. Like setting, costume can have a great variety of specific functions in the film's overall form. Costumes can play casual roles in film plots. In other films, costumes can be used for their purely graphic qualities. This colour change can be seen as a form of excess, which is also supported by Thompson. Narrative function may justify the presence of a device, but it doesn't always motivate the specific form that individual element will take. Quite often, the device could vary considerably in form and still serve its function adequately. Perhaps its colour is vital, but its shape could be different. In this case, the shape is vital, but the colour could be different regarding the ruby slippers. Although they might not have required the cultural icon status they now have, the slippers could have stayed their original silver colour and nothing in the film would have changed. Other examples of changes in colour being seen as excess are the changes made to the Emerald City. Baum's novel entails the Emerald City being not in fact actually green, but is given that illusion by everyone having to wear green-tinted glasses by the wizard's law. When Dorothy takes off her glasses, she realizes that although the city is coated in emeralds on the outside, the inside is much akin to a regular city. The film does away with this illusionary concept, making the inside of the Emerald City as green as its exterior without the need for green-tinted glasses.
I've never seen a horse like that before.
No, and never will again, I fancy. There's only one of him and he's it. He's the horse of a different colour you've heard tell about.
In addition to this, the infamous horse of a different colour you've heard tell about, which pulls the carriage that Dorothy and her friends are on, and which, according to Salman Rushdie, changes colour in each successive shot, a change brought about by covering it in a variety of shades of powdered jello, was a brand new addition to the film's adaptation of the novel, in which there is no horse of a different colour. All of these excessive choices, which do not contribute to the plot of the film, are what makes The Wizard of Oz so iconic and well revered today, almost 90 years later. Supported by Thompson, each film dictates the way it wants to be viewed by drawing upon certain conventions and ignoring or flaunting others. The change from the dreary septic farm to the multicolored scenery of Oz serves as a dramatic shift which captures the audience's attention, which is supported by Angela Vache and Brian Price in their book, Color the Film Reader. Colors help to distinguish objects and make them stand out against each other, and the presence of neutrals in our composition adds interest, variety, and charm to our colors. The Wizard of Oz is known for its marvelous technicolor and extravagant set design, costumes, and makeup. It's known for its ruby slippers, golden yellow brick road, great green Emerald City, the horse of a different color, and of course, the haggard, green-skinned Wicked Witch of the West.
He said, they're sort of interested in you for a part in The Wizard of Oz. And I said, oh, gosh, think of that. I said, I loved that story from the time I was 4 years old. What is it? And he said, well, the witch. And I said, the witch?
Another iconic aspect of the film is the Wicked Witch of the West, played by Margaret Hamilton. Being described as physically more monstrous in the novel, Baum never officially described her as having green skin, this being a creative decision made by the scriptwriters for the film. In creating the perfect movie villain, the film used toxic green makeup containing high concentrations of copper. Hamilton herself described burns so severe that they kept her from acting for weeks at a time. Despite the new bright green colour of her skin having no impact on the story and therefore being a form of excess supported by Thompson, indeed any stylistic disjunction may lead the spectator into an awareness of excess. This iconic look would later go on to take a story of its own, where the colour of her skin does directly impact the narrative, evidently in more recent adaptations of The Wizard of Oz, such as the novel, Broadway musical, and 2024 film Wicked.
You're green. I am.
However, the changes to her makeup design are not the only aspects of excess found within the character of the Wicked Witch in this film. There is not much to be said about the excess in performance. An extremely stylized performance by Hamilton serves as the driving force for the character, which is supported by Catherine A. Fawkes in her novel The Fantasy Film. The witch's shrieking cackle, gnarled hands, unmistakable greenness, and her pointed black hat, echoed by her pointy face and angular body, all assure her status as the canonical movie witch. In this movie, the angular green witch contrasts sharply with Dorothy's pleasantly plump softness and glowing pink complexion. Hamilton's acting choices regarding her role as the Wicked Witch in the context of The Wizard of Oz being a fantasy film, those being the bent posture, high-pitched voice, and the famed witch's cackle, secured her as one of the most iconic movie villains of all time. This statement is supported by Bordwell. Since the performance an actor creates is part of the overall mise-en-scène, films contain a wide variety of acting styles. Instead of assuming that acting must be realistic, we should try to understand what kind of acting style the film is aiming at. If the film is best served by a non-realistic performance, the skillful actor will strive to deliver that. The witch's exaggerated shrill of her voice and her physical movements are a form of excess. The flare of her long black cape and high-pitched cackle in the scene where she famously threatens Dorothy.
Just try. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
And disappears in a burst of flames and red smoke is a key example of performance as excess, and is supported by Thompson. The style of many devices is highly exaggerated compared to that in the classical narrative film. Similarly, the stylized performances of other characters such as the Scarecrow, played by Ray Bolger, the Tin Man, played by Jack Haley, and the Cowardly Lion, played by Burt Lahr, may be contrived as excess. The vaudeville style of acting, symbolic with the acting styles of the silent era, where a lot of emphasis is put on physical performance, is recognized by Rushdie. The Scarecrow and the Tin Man are both pure products of the burlesque theatre, specializing in pantomime exaggerations of movement and voice and movements, pratfalls, improbable leanings beyond the center of gravity. The excess can be derived from these exaggerated physical movements. Perhaps it could have been possible for the actors to successfully portray these characters without this particular style of acting. However, they might not have gained the icon status that they now have. Almost as revered as Hamilton's portrayal of the witch is Lahr's portrayal of the Cowardly Lion, described as a comic masterpiece by Rushdie. Burt Lahr's Cowardly Lion, all elongated vowels, ridiculous rhymes, transparent bravado, and operatic tail-tugging, blubbing terror.
Put 'em up! Put 'em up!
Your Majesty, if you were king, you wouldn't be afraid of anything?
Not nobody! Not no-how!
Not even a rhinoceros?
Impossibles!
How about a hippopotamus?
Why, I'd thrash 'em from top to bottomless.
To conclude my video essay, excess may be found in a wide array of material aspects within a film. However, the lack of awareness that this is a concept excludes it from academic analysis. This is supported by Thompson. But if part of the difficulty of talking about excess stems from its novelty as a concept, the critic is also faced with the fact that excess tends to elude analysis. The Wizard of Oz is a classic Hollywood film which has garnered much academic research. Although not much of it has been regarding the concept of excess, it has aided my own findings on the topic. The director, writers, and producers all made alterations to the original story for the film, which showcased some of its qualities in order to wow audiences, including its use of color, costume, makeup, set design, and performance, which all may be construed as excess. This is supported by Adrian Martin in his book Mise-en-Scène and Film Style. Old Hollywood was well aware of how much its products stood to gain as entertainment, from a style that rendered its drama effectively and made it look, move, and sound as if it had a sense of direction. It valued and rewarded the ability to control performance, image, and editing so as to create moods and viewpoints through which the story could grip and persuade the audience. These altercations are what made The Wizard of Oz so iconic today, and some of these excessive qualities can be found in later spin-offs including Return to Oz, released in 1985, Oz the Great and Powerful, 2013, and Wicked, 2024. The legacy of The Wizard of Oz and its ruby slippers and frightening green witch live on despite their origins of excess, and so even though they do not serve the narrative of the film, they are widely celebrated. Although these are elements of excess, they strive to blend in with the bright technicolor of the film and the fantasy genre as a whole, and seeing as there is not much on The Wizard of Oz and the concept of excess, it has been done successfully, which is supported by Thompson. Our conclusion must be that, just as every film contains a struggle of unifying and disunifying structures, so every stylistic element may serve at once to contribute to the narrative and to distract our perception from it.